Renee Bays, Rakim John, 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 Renee Bays.
Hello, welcome to Podcast of Color bonus episode. And this is for our Patreon listener or contributors. So thank you very much, all two of you.
There's more than two.
I know that was the joke.
Okay.
Thank you, all three of you. No, but seriously, thank you very much. It really means a lot to us. And I'm still a little shook that we have legit contributors. So thank you so much, y'all. Salamat. Gracias. So this episode, the trashbags, John and Renee, will be reviewed.
Roll that R.
I can't. You
roll it because you have to pronounce my name correctly.
Renee.
Go.
I can't.
Okay.
Oh, you should say.
So we are reviewing Romy and Michele's high school reunion.
It is a 1997 cult classic featuring Lisa Kudrow. I'm going to say this correctly.
No, say it first. Say what you said the first time.
Mina Suvari. Okay, it's actually Mira Sorvino.
Yeah.
And featuring Janine Garofalo and Renee's White Bay, Justin Theroux. I guess that's all right.
Yeah.
We have nothing to say about Justin Theroux.
No.
It's been okay so far.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the one that treats Jennifer Aniston right. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't. Does it?
And was also Mulholland Drive, but anyways.
The Queen of Basics, Jennifer Aniston. So, why are we reviewing this movie?
Because it is a cult and queer classic.
Right.
So you asked earlier, what about this stands out? So there's a bunch of like romantic comedies, right?
Not just romantic,
or like high school
classics.
Girlhood, or like friendship comedies, right?
Yeah.
What about this stood out for you?
This movie's about friendship. This movie's about getting bullied. This movie is about being an outsider and having chosen family and being extra and just being unbothered. And I think that's something in 1997, I was like, what? I think I was in middle school.
You were in college.
Sure. At the time, I was like, I couldn't articulate why I was so into this movie. And 20 years later, this movie is still, like, to me, iconic and something that I get excited about watching. And it's actually what I base my romantic relationships off of. Like, if you, PSA, if you have not seen this movie, we're probably not going to work out. So, what about you?
Shit, I said something good last time.
You said something similar about friendship and chosen family.
Okay, so basically, to break it down really quickly, the movie is about two high school outcasts that are super like awkward and nerdy, but also at the same time like really cool in a way.
Right.
And then 10 years later, find out that they have to go to their reunion. So I was an awkward outcast myself. Hard to believe, I know. But I was, I didn't feel like I fit in a lot. And like watching this movie as a kid, as someone who was bullied a lot, as someone who always felt super awkward and like never that I didn't fit in, like it really resonated with me, and I really felt like, holy shit, maybe one day I too will be cool, and like we'll come back to my high school reunion and be like, fuck y'all. So I think it was that, and then also I think it's also really important because when I was a kid, I always thought like, wow, like maybe I think the more important thing was like, I'd be like, maybe when I grow up, I'll have a friend as good, or a friendship as good as Romy and Michelle's.
Oh.
And like looking back at my life, I've actually been lucky enough to have people that I feel like really, just like in this movie, like are super supportive and like have my back, and like despite what other people might think or despite how other people judge me, are just like, holy shit, I don't give a fuck. Like you're one of my main bitches.
Yeah.
So so this is why apart from
that
like
friendship privilege.
apart from like the music, the fashion, how hilarious the one-liners are, the chemistry between Romy and Michele, or Mira Sorvino and Lisa Kudrow. I also really it resonated with me and resonates with me now how true and real the friendship was. Yeah.
All right, so let's get into it.
Yeah.
So the movie, it begins with classic, iconic, no doubts, I'm just a girl, which is like, that is like letting you know that this is sort of a chick flick. Like, I'm just a girl. This movie is about two girls in Southern California now. Well, they currently live in Southern California, but they're from Tucson, Arizona, from some like bumfuck town.
Right.
That's a real town?
Yeah,
right?
it's a real town.
Okay. I apologize to our Tucsonian listeners if the erasure was...
I used to see that on like the map, and I used to say Tucson. That's Tucson, but it's Tucson.
Tucson is the epitome of Arizona. So that's the opening scene. It starts with "I'm just a girl," and the camera's panning over Venice Beach, which is like, wow, this is cool. This is like a cute lifestyle. And so you come into this like exposed brick wall apartment with this like, it's almost like 90s Spencer's gift store. Like everything is bright and neon. Like I'm sure there's a lava lamp somewhere. There's like random neon colored furs. And the girls are both in their bed and they're watching Pretty Woman. And so that's the opening. You just get to see how bonding these girls are.
And it's like super relatable, right? Like everyone like sits down and watches
like,
a
chick flick
with their best friend, or like a whatever movie, and like just makes fun of it the whole time, but then actually enjoys the movie too, right?
Right. Everyone loves to make fun of a movie, like, but they secretly love it.
Right.
Like Pretty Woman. Yeah. And so cut to the next scene. They're getting ready together. They're about to go out into the club, which is like another good sign of a solid friendship, right? Because getting ready in front of someone is pretty vulnerable
and intimate.
Yeah, like I like someone to see me ready. I don't like to see some, like, no one's allowed to see that process unless you're a good friend, like Romy and Michele, right?
Yeah, and like it's also another thing that's really important, because I remember like getting ready with my friends a lot, and like we'd be like, okay, wear that. No, wear that with this, and then okay, if you're wearing that, let me wear this, and then like just getting ready and like having fun, like having even more fun being together, listening to music and getting ready than maybe even going out. Do you think like that was probably the most fun that it was ever?
Like you and your friends were wearing the same outfit, but like different versions of that outfit, right? Like, so Renee literally has that.
Well, yeah. So I was telling John that the creator of the movie had said that she had gotten the idea of these two friends by seeing the two girls in a club that you could tell got ready together and were wearing different versions of the same outfit. And I have photos of me and my friends that kind of went through the same thing. So it's again really relatable.
So, and then they finally hit the club, and then when they go to the club, they like have a dance routine that they already have together, and like no one really is impressed by the dancing, but they don't care. They're just unbothered the whole time. They're like, whatever, we're the shit. Yeah. We're dancing in latex. Yeah. Like, it's fine. Yeah.
So basically this whole like opening scene is kind of like setting the tone of like, this is their friendship, and they don't care about what anybody else thinks. Like they think they're cool, and they are in their own world, and they're having fun at the end of the day. And so like, they're just happy. It just seems like.
Then we cut to Romy, who is Mira Sorvino. Turns out she's but she works at a Jaguar.
Yes, a
Am I
jaguar.
saying that? I was pronouncing it jaguar, but I
It
guess
is jaguar.
It's
It's jaguar. Papa.
it's jaguar.
Jaguar.
I'm pronouncing it jaguar.
Yes.
Anyways, Romy works at a Jaguar dealership, and she's like the front desk girl. And while she's working there, she runs into the character Heather Mooney, who is played by Janine Garofalo. And Heather Mooney and Romy and Michele, they all went to the same high school. And so Heather Mooney is like, oh shit. Or actually, Romy is like, oh my gosh, Heather Mooney from Sagebrush High, Tucson, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yeah, who's asking? And she's like, it's me, Romy White, from high school. We went to high school together.
Right. And so Heather Mooney is like the cynical, like heavy eyeliner, black eyeliner, super like introverted, like Cancer.
She's
like,
Renee.
She's
Renee in a movie. And so Heather, they're just making small talk, and Heather asks Romy, are you going to the high school reunion? And Romy, it's sort of indicative because Romy had no idea there was a reunion in the first place. They didn't get an invite. There was no notification. Her inbox was empty.
Right.
And so she's like, oh my God, the high school reunion, that sounds like fun. So she calls Michele and lets her know there's a high school reunion coming up, and that's where we go. That's where it starts, right?
Right. So they go. So once they find out that there's a reunion and they decide that they're probably going, they go down memory lane. And so this is another #relatable moment, because they go down memory lane, and memory lane isn't too bright because in high school, Michele, the one who is
Lisa Kudrow.
Lisa Kudrow, the one that is now a cute, cool girl, was not only ditzy but also had a back brace.
She had like scoliosis or something, so she had to wear a back brace that was like started from her lower back up to her neck.
Right, and then Romy.
Romy was quote unquote fat.
Romy was eating a lot apparently, and then was also fat. So these two like cute, cool girls that you see now, flashback 10 years, were like super awkward.
And they made their own clothes.
Yeah. So that was cool. But they also got bullied a lot by the A group, and they felt like they were outcasts.
What is the A group?
The A group is...
Okay, so the A group is usually, and I think it's pretty common in most high schools. So the A group is usually the cheerleaders and the jocks, and the B group was like the successful, smart ones. The C group was just like regular cool kids, and then after that it breaks down into like drama and band and like theater and outsiders, like things like that. And so, what do you think? If you could be a category in high school, where do you think you are? Where were you?
So for me, it was kind of difficult because my high school was really big, and there was like a lot of different groups. There were so many different groups that popularity was kind of like a hard thing to achieve, because it was so big. So not a lot of people come up to me all the time and they're like, hey, did you know this guy? He graduated the same year that you did. And I had no idea who that person was because my school was so big. So as far as that's concerned, that's kind of, it's kind of it's kind of a difficult one for me. But I would have said, I think if you asked certain people, they would have been like, oh my God, he was a fucking loser. Or he was like super awkward, or like nobody liked him. He was a fag.
Were you actually called fag in high school?
I was, yeah. I sure was. But I also, what's so funny is that like I was called like a lot of straight people were kind of weird, but then like also some people didn't care because like it was high school, and like it was so big that they were like, okay, like who gives a shit? And then like some of the straight Latino guys were like really nice to me, so it was interesting. because I also got like this other point of view where like people were like, oh, actually you were kind of cool. And then when we were breaking down the groups, like there's A, B, C, vote, or whatever. There were people that I feel like were trying to be my friend or like trying to come out to me or like whatever because they thought that like maybe they thought that it was cool or whatever. I realize now, but I would not think overall. I think I would maybe be in like the D group.
Oh my god! Don't be so mean to yourself.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying like where I would be placed. I'm not saying that's who I think I am. That's where I would probably be placed. That's different.
Right. Well, for me, long story short, I didn't actually finish. I didn't go to traditional high school. I went to a high school my freshman and sophomore year. And then when it came to junior and senior year, I left and joined a program called Middle College, which let me take my college courses and my high school courses at the same time. So by the time I graduated high school, I got my diploma and my AA and my AS as well. And that sounds super nerdy, which it was, but the program was made for troubled youth, like kids who didn't belong in high school and who wanted to, or who were like also overachievers. And
the overachievers were probably bullied as well, yeah.
Yeah, so basically everyone was like kind of bullied. So like when Romy and Michele are going through these categories, I was thinking like, fuck, like I am also in like the C group because I wasn't a cool jock and I wasn't very like popular. And this is from my perspective of myself. If anyone from my high school is listening, feel free to like tell me what you actually thought. But the reason why I left is because it was hard for me. I was bullied. I had some nicknames, etc., etc. But yeah. So back to Romy and Michele.
Yeah.
So after they run in with Heather Mooney, they get the survey of. And I guess it's pretty common for high school reunions. They send you a survey of like what you've been doing in the past 10 years. And so as Romy's filling it out, she's realizing they're not as cool or as impressive as they thought.
Right. But the thing is, there's like two parts. It's like, I feel like Romy and Michele are kind of symbolic for the two parts of the psyche, of like the human psyche. And one part is just like, so Michele, the one that's in her own world, Lisa Kudrow, who's always in her own world, is always like, I don't care. Like, I just want to do whatever makes me happy. And that's fine.
Right. Lisa Kudrow is the hashtag unbothered one.
Right. And then Mira Sorvino is the one that's kind of always vigilant about like outside validation and what the outside people think and like how she looks to other people. I feel like they're the two aspects of like what every person has. Where like one part of you is just like, you know what, fuck everyone, I'm gonna do what makes me happy, and then the other part is kind of like, hey, like maybe you should like tone this down. Be
more aware.
Or yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or yeah. So
as they're going through the list, Romy's going through these check boxes like jobs and relationship status, and I think that's very. I mean, everyone's that's sort of a universal theme because people feel pressured by these like social time clocks. Like, like, are you in a relationship? Do you have a job? What kind of job is it? And like, do you have a house and do you have kids? And so as Romy is filling out the survey, she's like, fuck, before we go to this reunion, we need to like get these like markers of success. Like we need to find better jobs and better boyfriends. And so that's where the next like couple scenes branch off to is like the challenges that run into that, right?
Right. So oh, sorry, Papa. So they're filling out the survey. So they're trying to get cool jobs, hot boyfriends, and a cool car. Oh, and then I also wanted to mention the dance scene, the prom.
What? That's like way. Oh, right.
Did we?
Yeah,
right?
no,
At
we
the
did.
prom?
Right.
Okay, so at the prom,
Well, a flashback. So
Yes, yeah.
during this movie, there's a lot of flashbacks from where they are now and like what high school was for them. So this one of the scenes that Renee is about to talk about is a flashback in Romy and Michelle's actual prom.
right. So they're at prom, which is weird, but because for them it was like also the last day of school.
Right.
Right. Like
That's
they were
how
never
proms were back then.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was the last day of school.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so it was the prom, was the last day of school, and all the A group is there, and they're dressed in really boring cookie cutter white girl clothes, and then Romy and Michelle are in like almost like Madonna looks,
Right.
and like look really amazing. And I was telling John that Romy looked almost like an IG baddie. She was just
Yeah.
missing the cat eyeliner.
She had a high pony and some like really cute roots. I don't know. Just it was very much a look. And then Lisa Kudrow had a bob where like every single hair was like straight and in place, but like still kind of a mess. Like they looked cute. So yeah.
Yeah, but I think so. The thing about groups that you bring up and like your perspective, as far as groups, is kind of brought up in the scene too, because so Romy has a crush on this jock, Billy Christensen, and he's dating the most popular girl in school, whose name is
Christy Masters.
So Christy Masters,
which is like very white name. Right?
Yeah, so they're dating each other. They're super popular. They're like the it couple that everybody aspires to. And Romy, of course, has a huge crush on Billy Christensen. And then, so during the scene, Lisa Kudrow says to Mira Sorvino says to Lisa Kudrow, "Hey, I want to go say hi to the jock and maybe ask him to dance."
Because
Billy
this is like the
Christensen.
last night.
Because it's the last night, and then Lisa Kudrow says, "Go and do it. Go ask him, because it's the last night and nobody's gonna say no to anybody. So you might as well just, take your chance." And then so Mira Sorvino goes and she goes on her way to ask Billy out on the dance. But then we have enter Sandy Frink, who is like one of the dorkiest dorks that has ever dorked. And he's had a huge crush on Lisa Kudrow, and he asked Lisa Kudrow for a dance, and immediately after saying that nobody would say no during this last dance, Lisa Kudrow says no to him and turns him down, which kind of like breaks it down. Like, you may feel like an outcast, and you probably are. A lot of people feel like outcasted, but then if you really kind of like look at the big picture, there are probably people that are even more outcast, and that feel like maybe even like feel like they're being bullied by you. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's just like this whole like levels thing.
Do you think that you were ever a bully to someone, or that like someone that you were the cool one?
I think I was saying earlier that like I was super quiet a lot, and like people took that as like me being conceited, but it was just me keeping to myself, because I had learned as I was getting bullied earlier, or when I was younger, that like the more I kept to myself and the more quiet I was, the more invisible I was, and therefore like nobody would bother me as much. And so I think there's that. And I think also when I look back at it too, like I was also really angry a lot because I was treating like shit, and I was probably really mean to like some people that like I guess people that were like quote unquote on a lower rung socially, that were like, "Hey Renee," or like would try to be nice, and I was just like, "Fuck you," because I was just like mad at everybody. And so they probably, just like Heather Mooney, who was saying fuck off to like a lot of these people, it's just like she was just really angry. So there were probably people that are like, "Fuck Renee, he was a dick." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
after the flashback,
Billy Christensen, by the way, did not age well.
Most of them didn't, except for Justin Theroux, which is fine. Flashback from back to real time. The girls are trying to find new boyfriends, trying to get new jobs, and like trying to find a car to show up to this reunion. And we were talking about how this movie was very iconic 90s. And one of the scenes where they try to be cool is they get access to a flip phone. And they wanted to bring their flip phone to the reunion to show everyone like how successful they were. And then Romy's like, oh my God, a flip phone. Like, because, back then that's what it was. And also another...
But it's also like a big, thick chunk of plastic.
Right. Like to us, like flip phones are non-existent anymore.
Yeah.
And another thing is that in the process of looking for a boyfriend, Romy goes to MTV Singled Out, which is like, if you were a 90s kid, you remember watching Singled Out on MTV.
Yeah.
And then, so, I mean, that was just very like, if it was like the fashion, the music, and then just these specific events that happened in the movie are very like telling of what time frame this movie was.
Right.
So, once they finally get everything, they go on the road, and on the way to the reunion, they have a pit stop at a diner, and they're all in their getup because they decided that they're going to pretend to be businesswomen because they couldn't actually find the jobs or the boyfriends, but they thought as long as we look like we're successful, then maybe people will believe we are, right?
Right. And this is another very 90s thing, because back then, if you lived in another city or another state, you can say, hey, I do this, or this is my job, and this is what I do.
And nobody would know.
Exactly.
Because no one had Facebook.
Exactly.
Or Google.
Exactly. And so now you can't pretend like, oh, I work for this company, or I'm dating this person, blah, 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 because people will like Google you and like,
or like
find
go to your LinkedIn or some shit.
Right. But back then you could just like pretend.
You could get away with it, which is what they thought they could do with an invention. So they were thinking, what could we say that is like a sign of success, but no one really knows who invented it? And they finally decided on Post-its. They're like, let's just say we invented Post-its. And Romy was saying, let's say I invented it, but you, Michele, thought like it would be cool if we made it yellow. And that was like sort of insulting to Michele, right? And you kind of also see that it's a recurring theme in the movie that Romy's like constantly bursting Michelle's bubble because like, I don't know, Michele just lives in her own world. So
right, and Michele kind of like I feel like she's portrayed as ditzy, but almost portrayed as stupid, but really when you kind of see it, it's like it's not that she's stupid, it's just like she doesn't care what people think.
Right.
She's just living in her own world.
Right.
And that's it. And that's fine. But yeah, that was kind of indicative of like maybe some of the insecurities that Romy, Mira Sorvino, was having in herself. And like she was kind of projecting on Lisa Kudrow. And she was like so insecure that she was like, okay, let's make up this cool story and everyone thinks it is going to think we're cool. But nobody would believe that you would help think this up. So because you're kind of stupid, to Lisa Kudrow. And she's like, so like, just pretend that you said that you picked out the color. Right. So it's kind of like she was almost sacrificing like her, like the wellness of her relationship to seem impressive to outside sources. And you see that happening sometimes in friendships or in relationships. And it's just like another #relatable moment.
Right, because she said, I think Romy says, she's like, I carry you. She says, I carry us in the relationship. And it's like, and that's kind of real in some real friendships. Like you try to figure out who you are in your relationship. Like, am I the one that carries this, whether it be romantic or just platonic? Like, sometimes you have to figure out, who am I in this relationship? And so it kind of like is kind of like a light bulb moment for the viewer and for the actresses as well.
Yeah.
So, anyways, they get into this huge fight, and then they decide, let's not talk to each other at the reunion.
Mm-hmm. And never, I think they decided never to talk to each other again. Like after the reunion, they just split ways, right?
Right. They decide that on their way, but they haven't made it there. But on the way to the reunion, we get into a dream sequence, and Michele is having this dream where they actually achieve the goals that they had set out. They got away with saying they invented Post-its. Mm-hmm. They got with the guys they wanted to get with, mm-hmm. and they became like quote unquote successful. And they actually, I think they win the award for most improved mm-hmm. since high school. Mm-hmm. So there's that. And then during the dream, they fast forward like 70 years later, where they're like, I guess that would make them
100,
something like that. Yeah. And they're both in these huge mansions. And then you see that Michele is actually really sad. And she has a husband, and they have, all these material things, but they're
super wealthy.
She says, I've just been sad and lonely all these years because I've felt alone. And she's saying this to her husband directly, which is funny, but she's just referring to how she misses her friend. And so her husband, her futuristic husband, is like, why don't you just call Romy up, Mm-hmm. And so she calls Romy.
And they're still fighting over like who's the prettier one and who's the stupid one, or who's
who's the Mary and who's the Rhoda.
Who's the Mary and who's the Rhoda. And that's the Mary Tyler Moore show, right?
Right.
But yeah, so this dream is indicative of kind of like where maybe Lisa Kudrow's conscious is lying, where it's like, holy shit, we're on this quest to achieve all these things, but once we achieve them, are we actually going to find happiness?
Like, does any of that really matter?
Right? Is that going to fulfill us? And like, is that worth sacrificing like a genuine friendship?
Yeah, which is kind of a thought that people didn't expect Michele to have. Mm-hmm. So dream sequence is over. Michele wakes up, and they're actually at the reunion. They actually made it to Tucson. But while they decided they'd separate, Romy runs into the A group, the group that bullied her and Michele while they were in high school. And they ask her, like, what have you been up to? And while they ask her, Heather Mooney walks up. We forgot to mention, so Heather Mooney's very successful because she invented Lady Fair cigarettes, which is a fictional cigarette, but it's a quick burning cigarette. And like during a flashback, Heather Mooney's character in high school, she was sort of like the outcast, and she was like smoking in between high school periods. Mm-hmm. And she said to herself, like, there needs to be a cigarette that you could smoke entirely in between classes. Mm-hmm. So 10 years later, she invented that cigarette, and she's super successful. And she is nearby. She's within like earshot of Romy and the A girls. And when the A girls ask her, what have you been up to? Romy says that she invented Post-its in front of Heather Mooney. Mm-hmm. But turns out when Heather Mooney, when she was inventing her cigarettes, she went to the same college as the guy who invented Post-its. Mm-hmm. So she called her out, and like, she didn't know that Romy was trying to lie about it. She was just like, you didn't invent Post-its. This guy I went to college with invented Post-its. And then she says this from in front of the A girls, and they just like start laughing in front of Romy. Right. And Romy's like heartbroken.
Yeah. And so the word spreads because whatever her name is,
Christy Masters
basically lets everybody know on the mic that Romy and Michele are telling people that they invented Post-its when they didn't.
Right.
So word spreads, and they look like fools to everybody. And Romy, Marissa Reno, is super upset that, she's like, why did I come here? We're just like big losers, and we look like big fools or whatever. Mm-hmm. And Lisa Kudrow's brilliance shines through, and like, I think it's the brilliance that like was hinted at throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
Even though she's like the quote unquote ditzy one.
Right. Which was, why are we faking it? Like, let's just be ourselves. Let's just, be our true unbothered selves, like we
Right.
were in the opening scene of the movie.
Right. And she says, like, since we left high school and I've been living with you this whole time, I've been having a blast. And she said, I thought that we were having a blast and like we've been happy and cool this whole time.
Yeah.
So I didn't think there was anything wrong with us until you pointed out that there was something wrong with us while we were doing the high school reunion survey. So she's basically like, fuck everyone. We're living our lives. We're being our true selves. Then why do we have to care about what other people think about us?
Right. So they go back out there and they go back out to the high school reunion and they take off their businesswomen's outfits. There's these like costumes that they're wearing and put on these like crazy kooky, like iconic. It's like, I think it's the cover of the movie, actually. The movie the outfits they're wearing at the end is like this like neon turquoise with fur.
Not turquoise.
Turquoise. And Romy's wearing like a pink, I don't know, latex dress too. And they look super kooky and they have like this weird, like heavy, like curly bangs, like tons of hairspray. And they go back out there and the A girls are like, what the fuck are they wearing? And we forgot to mention that one of the girls from the A group turns out to be the senior editor at Vogue. And she actually backs up Romy and Michele, and she's like, well, I think what they're wearing is fun and playful and fashion forward.
Right.
And everyone's like, oh, well, if she thinks that, then they must be cool.
Right. And then, well, I also wanted to mention that the Vogue editor, who used to be part of the A group and no longer is part of the A group, lost touch with the A group, and Christy Masterson, the It girl, get into kind of like a little tiff at the reunion, and the it girl, the popular one who's now pregnant, says to her, oh, you know what, you're just bitter because unlike us, you're not happily married
or
yeah
pregnant.
Yeah, exactly. And the Vogue editor is like, that's right, just keep telling yourself that you're happily married. That'll work for you. So, and it's kind of so, and we find out that actually the It girl who's trying to tell everybody how happily married she isn't actually happily married. That the baby that she's having potentially is not her baby daddy's.
Right, who is the high school jock that Romy had a crush on, who turns out to be an alcoholic.
So the prom king and queen married each other, and they stayed together this whole time, but they're not. They're
miserable.
They're miserable. So he doesn't have the cool job that he says he has. He's cheating on her, and she's obviously cheating on him as well.
Yeah.
And then he tries to hit on Romy, who he had dissed before.
Yeah.
And obviously Romy's over it at that point.
Right. So, and then towards the end of the prom, when the girls are finally being themselves, they have a dance to the iconic Cyndi Lauper's Time After Time, which the writer had said they spent like $240,000 just to get that song in the movie, which was like, it's also a sign of like the times that this like iconic song. But they do this like weird interpretive white girl dance to it, but it's like apparently super impressive to the rest of the high school. But like to the viewers, it's like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, it was kind of weird. It was kind of weird, but you want to mention? Oh, okay. So it was Sandy Frank, the dork, who is now successful. So he was successful in the dream, but he's also apparently successful in real life, and also really wealthy. Lands there in a helicopter, and still has a crush on Lisa Kudrow, because he had a huge crush during high school, and that's why he turned down Janine Garofalo in high school during that dance. So that's three people that turned each other down for dances. So the jock turned down Mira Sorvino. Michele turned down Sandy Frank. And Sandy Frank turned down Janine Garofalo.
Oh, that's right.
So it's like these layers of like everyone
a ripple effect,
right? And everyone who looks up to like the cool people also has someone to look down on. Apparently.
Right. Well, Janine grew up. Heather Mooney says in the movie, everyone made everyone's life a living hell in high school.
Right.
Like no matter what category you're in.
Right.
Like whether or not you saw it directly or not, like you made someone's life a living hell.
Right.
Which is like crazy because we don't think about that. Most of us feel like we are the bullied ones, but I'm sure we are the bullies to other people.
Right. Or we have certain like privileges or like social capital that we don't maybe want to admit or realize. And then there's also like I also wanted to bring up the part where Sandy Frank the dork asks Lisa Kudrow to dance, and Lisa Kudrow says only if Mira Sorvino can dance with us. Right. And then I'm gonna, if it's not annoying, I'm gonna tell that story. So I was telling John that it reminded me of me and one of my friends, or a bunch of my friends are like super close, but this one particular friend always happens to attract people or partners that dislike me because they realize that me and my friend
like sugar daddies,
because they realize that me and my friend have a really intense bond, and that my friend doesn't really put romantic partners above me, above his friendships, the way I guess people are used to.
Right. So your friend's potential partners kind of see you as like a barrier or like a threat.
Right. And so I remember being out with my friend and like one of his daddies or whatever, and he obviously did not like me. And so he ordered a car, and he said, okay, we're all going to get in this car, but not everyone's going to fit. So whoever doesn't fit is going to have to stay behind. I'm sorry. And he was very obviously talking about me because it was all his friends. And then that he had brought, like the sugar daddy had brought all his friends, and then obviously wanted my friend to go with him. And then so they all started getting in the car, and my friend just stood there and like grabbed my hand and like held on to my hand and was basically kind of saying, without saying it in like a nonverbal way, of just like, I'm either staying with my friend or he comes with me. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so he ends up so we end up leaving, but it just reminded me of this scene of just like, hey, yeah, like I can dance with you, or like you can be part of this, but you have to understand that this person is just as important. So
yeah, that's like friendship goals, I think. Yeah. Like even though this movie didn't like put romantic relationships at the like peak of prioritization, I think what makes this movie a little different is that, like we said earlier, is that it focuses on like friendship and girlfriend and like
chosen family.
Like, yeah, I'm not gonna do this without my friend. And
right.
Like if I'm given this opportunity for whatever, my friend is gonna come with me.
Right.
It's like, and I don't know, I feel like that's super rare now.
Mm-hmm.
So
sure.
So that was.
Well, there's more stuff I think that we want to talk about. We want to talk about, did you go to your high school reunion? Oh, we kind of talked about that already.
Yeah. I didn't go to my high school reunion because fuck that. I didn't even go to my last 2 years of high school. Oh, that's right. Because that was weird. So, no, I didn't go.
Yeah. I didn't either, but I saw the photos and it looked like... It looked like actually from the photos that it looked almost like a 20-year reunion versus a 10-year reunion. But so yeah, I'm cool that I didn't go.
Yeah, but like, I don't think there's anything wrong with going to your high school reunion. I think if you went and like if you actually liked high school, then yeah, why not? Yeah. And if you still keep in contact with those people, but I think
I actually don't trust people. Oh, well, actually, this is a quote, and I'm re-quoting it.
Where are you quoting it from?
It's just like going around on the internet or Twitter. And it says, I don't trust people that liked high school or that had a good time in high school. And I honestly don't, but that's just me.
Right. I think most of us who are friends did not have a good time in high school, which is kind of like our common ground. It's our bonding moment. It's like we were all weirdos in high school, and now we're like friends.
And then I wanted to ask, Christy Christensen or
Christy
Bill-
Masterson?
Christy Masterson.
Billy Christensen.
Billy Christensen. Well, technically she's Christy Christensen.
Right, you're right.
Because they're married. So the It Girl, what do you think the It Girl today would be doing to kind of show off how happy she was? Because, I mean, kind of also another theme in this movie was like showing off your happiness. Because if you look at like all like the popular people or whatever in this movie, like if you look down beneath the surface, there was also a lot of like missed stuff that wasn't actually happy, people that were miserable, like maybe like voids. Performative happiness.
Yes.
So it wasn't actually they were like completely fulfilled. It was she literally said that she was very fulfilled, but there was obviously like a lot of stuff underneath where it was just like, yo, you're just so used to performing this. So I was gonna say, if she existed today, what kind of things would she be doing to kind of like to kind of show everybody how happy she was?
I hate that like this is my go-to answer, but it's probably the social media king and queens. Like I don't follow a lot of straight accounts. Yeah. Like people who are yeah. But I know that they exist in that world. Like
straight people exist?
Like, you know, for us there's like the Insta gays.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm sure there's like Insta hets that like other hetero people Insta hets. You know, like there's the girls who are selling like the diet teas or whatever, and their boyfriends who are like, I don't know, what's that thing that people work out a lot and CrossFit?
P90. Oh,
no,
okay,
CrossFit. There's like those CrossFit dudes, and like all their Instagram posts are like CrossFit, and the girl's like, I'm selling fit tea. And like as a couple, we're a fit couple, and like that's what like success looks like to a lot of folks, right? Especially like I don't know, I think it puts a lot of pressure, and just couples in general. Like here's us separately, and then here's us as a brand, right? And so I think that's what the It Girls of like if this movie were to take place now, like those are the girls, because like that's what people are want to do. They want to show how much they've improved, and like here's my TBT when I used to be fat, and here I am now. God, like I hate that shit. Here I am now with like lots of money, and I live in whatever city, and I like I have this, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's funny because we just talked about the performative happiness of Instagram.
Oh, we talked about performative happiness with couples?
Right.
Yeah.
So, and before it was kind of like word of mouth, like you had to tell people. Right. Like you had to be like, hey, I work here. This is what my boyfriend looks like. This is the job that I have. This is the car that I... Before you had to tell people to like show off. Right. And now you don't have to do that anymore. All you have to do is post a photo and just to show people like how happy and how successful you are.
Well, exactly. So this movie and like... This is very a sign of the times, because people used to wait their whole lives till they got to their high school reunion to be like, here's how much better I was than before. Right. But now people, they have it in their palm of their hand, and they're like, well, here's what I did a month ago, and here's where I am now. And it's just like, fuck. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
And I think it's kind of like that whole culture. I think the message that we're supposed to get away from this movie, apart from, hey, like, make sure to have someone...
Iconic friendships.
Make sure to have iconic we stand iconic friendship, because like someone that really has your back, like that's special and that's actually rare, and not worth losing over some type of reputation. But also the other thing that we're supposed to take away is like this performative happiness that we all have the pressure to kind of achieve can actually be killing us.
Wow.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Thank you, Romy and Michele.
do you know what I'm saying?
No,
like,
for sure.
Like it's actually like and like stop looking up to people that you think are like cooler or whatever, because they may actually not have it as together as they're trying to show, and they're trying to show you only the good parts. Right. Do you know what I'm saying? No. So maybe just realize that like we all have, maybe we're all lucky in some respects and then unlucky in others, and that's okay, and then just live your own life and like just go with yourself.
Dang, I didn't know you were going to go that deep with it. Yeah, I was just like, man, this movie is like a lighthearted, feel-good movie, but really, there's some deepness to it. And
well, you know, I have to be cerebral about like everything. So.
Classic Rene. Always cerebro. I can't. So yeah, that is our review on the cult classic Romy and Michele's High School Reunion. If you have not seen it, please go see it.
Oh, spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert! We just described the whole movie, but I hope you'll enjoy it as much as we did. And if you've already seen it, next time you come in contact with us, we'd like to do some one-liners with you because it's kind of the
so
basis.
Quotable.
It's so quotable. This movie is very quotable. It's the basis of which I start off my romantic relationship. So
thank you so much for contributing, and I hope you enjoyed our review.
Bow, 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 bow.